Genesis 19. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting at the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, so that we can have sex with them." Lot went outside to meet them, and shut the door behind him, and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have 2 daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them, but don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." "Get out of our way," they replied. "This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. The 2 men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else here, sons-in-laws, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry! Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and of his 2 daughters, and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives. Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life, but I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zoar. By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine, and then sleep with him, and preserve our family line through our father." That night they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also. And the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today.
Ouch.
Wow. All one can say is a big, whooping wow.
Wow.
And these were the mortal enemies, apparently, of the children of Israel, the Moabites and the Ammonites. They were like a blood feud. But at any rate, what comments do you have about this, Debbie?
God saves this schmuck, and then he goes and has sex with his daughters. And I'm sorry, Mr. Solution, if there was nobody else around living in a cave, you can't tell me that man wouldn't wake up the next day and knew that he had had sex with somebody. I mean, come on. You know what I'm saying? I just don't buy into it. I think that after God spared him from that disaster and then he goes on and does that, I don't like it. I think it's horrible. I didn't know that was in that chapter. I thought that was the next chapter when he did that. But I liked when he destroyed Sodom. I thought that was a great show of, fuck with me, buddies. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know. I think it's great when he shows himself like that, when God shows his power like that, when he draws back his mighty hand and smites people like that.
Yeah, and again, they talk about the judge. We'll go over it. But now, I think on the issue, and I don't know if you heard the full reading, is that this was the plan of the daughters. So you take exception to that?
Yeah.
So let me see.
I think that's ridiculous.
The two daughters, one day the older daughter said...
They had sex with their father?
Verse 31.
Are you kidding me? Sex with your father? I can't even comprehend that. My mind doesn't even go there, but... whatever. I mean...
the technical word for that would be incest.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
this
horrible.
is incest. Certainly. And it should not have been done, but... no, I was just reading in verse 31. It says, "One day the older daughter said to the younger, 'Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine and then sleep with him and preserve our family line through our father.'" Now, the point of it is, it was wrong. It was obviously wrong. But you don't think that it's as presented here, or how do you construe it?
Everything about it is absolutely disgusting to me, and I stand on that. And not only that, but if you go back a couple of verses...
I agree.
If you go back a couple of verses, Lot tried to sell his daughters to those strange men. "Oh, I've got daughters in here who are virgins. Why don't you take them?" I'm like, what?
Well, let me address that. That's right. He did. That's a good point. What happened is there was actually a law, and I think it's in Deuteronomy, but obviously it was practiced before then. There weren't Holiday Inns or any of the other posh hotels, and it was considered a very high point to. In fact, God enforced this to take care of the traveler, and so when a person was under your roof, you were obligated to take care of them. And I think that's what Lot was doing. Sure, it appeared extreme, but this seemed to be an extreme condition. I mean, in terms of what was being asked. I think they said, well, let's just look at it. He said here, then the two angels, unless you had a comment. Do you have a comment on it?
There's nothing that would cause me to throw my daughter to people like that. I don't know. I can't wrap my mind around that. I just can't. I wish I could, but I can't. I think it's disgusting.
Right, and let me say this. That's a good point. This is a different, the way these people were socialized, I mean, their culture, And I think one of the great things of understanding any work is understanding the culture that work originated in. And so that was extreme, admittedly, but I think it was under the rubric of protecting the traveler. So at any rate here, it says the two angels, they arrived in Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. So apparently Lot had ascended to some position of power, because the gate was considered the place where judgment. It was like the court. We would call it our modern day court. But it says here, when he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down, just like Abraham, with his face to the ground. So he was showing great respect. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. So he invites them to his house. You can wash your feet, you notice the washing of the feet, and spend the night. And then, they could go away early in the morning. But they declined. They said no. They wanted to spend the night in the square. Now, I don't know exactly why that was. Maybe it was to get an idea of what was going on, but obviously Lot convinced them otherwise. In verse 3, he insisted, and they went with him. And then, you notice in verse 4, it says, before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we may have sex with them. Now, what do you think about that? One gets an idea of why Lot did some of the things that he did based on what he was challenged with.
I still hold my same position about it. I just find it disgusting that anybody would do that. I mean, I don't know. Did he know they were? Did he know they were angels?
Right, yeah.
Did he know they were angels?
I agree. It was. I think this whole situation it's. Well, God told us it was bad, right? We were warned that bad things were going on down there, and I think we're getting an opportunity to see what some of those things were. It says in verse 6, Lot went outside, now you notice, to meet them, and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, do not do this wicked thing. And this is where, what we have been discussing came in. He said he had 2 daughters that were virgins, and he offered to bring them out. Now, I think that's reprehensible, but, that's part of what's going on. But I think he was doing this, as I said before, to protect the travelers.
I have some audio. I have some audio. I have some audio on this part that is pretty good that we could listen to that may help all the people that are listening. I think it's pretty cool. Would you like to listen to that real quick?
Sure, please.
Okay, that way you can get a break too. Y'all take a listen to, again, as put on by the History Channel, and everybody says it is the most accurate depiction of the Bible and the most beautiful depiction. Here is exactly what we're talking about.
Sodom has become corrupt, a city of sin.
But my nephew Lot lives there. He has a family.
The outcry against Sodom is great. Its sins are very grave.
We're going to destroy it. The whole city. You are a just God. Will you destroy the good men along with the evil ones? What if there were 50 good people in Sodom? Will they suffer the same fate as the wicked? Please, help us!
We will test them. If my angels find 50 righteous people in Sodom, I will spare the whole city.
Please, help us.
He went this way!
Help us. Or fewer. 30. 20. He would not destroy them, surely.
Down there!
Help us. This way, sir. But if there were 10 righteous men in Sodom, would you not save them?
What? What are you doing? Who are these people?
They need our help. I'll do what I can for you.
Even if I find only 10, I will save the whole city.
This way! Open the door! Give us the strangers!
They are guests in my house. Let them be.
Take you to...
Step aside.
And God shows up.
We must go.
For Abraham's sake, the Lord is saving you.
I wish you. Have you ever seen this this miniseries, Mr. Solution? These angels are so badass. I love them.
You know, I have not, but I look forward to it.
You got to.
You know, I think they're doing a good job of depicting this here. But you know, Debbie, in verse 8, I think this is the clincher here. This is the authority where Lot says, "But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof." So that was a very important law in that land, is that the traveler was you were responsible for them, period. You should give your life to save the life of someone under your roof. And I think that's what was being gotten at here. But you notice their response. So we have violence here. And this is what a lot of people don't recognize, is these were not innocent people. They say, "Here, get out of the way," they replied, and now they're going to use abusive language. They say, "This fellow came here as a foreigner." So they're acknowledging that Lot was not one of them, and now he wants to play the judge. "We'll treat you worse than them." They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. So these were violent people. These were not just, people that were just minding their business and, this kind of thing befell them. These people were very aggressive, they were assertive, and they were really precipitating the problem. In verse 10, it says, "But the men inside," obviously that's, I think, when we heard the groaning and moaning and crying out, they reached out and pulled Lot back in because they were going to hurt Lot in the house, and they shut the door, and then that's when they struck them with blindness. Now, obviously, that was a miracle. They were right there at the door, but they couldn't find the door, so they were, struck with confusion of some miraculous type. And now, the other thing is that everyone could have abandoned that city, or they could have been righteous, and they chose to do neither. And we'll see here where it says, look in verse 14. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-laws, these obviously betrothed to his daughters, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry, get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. So they treated Lot like a fool. They didn't care. They didn't see any urgency. They probably said, who's the Lord? Right?
Exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they probably
So this
knew who
is
he
the
was,
attitude.
but, I think they probably
Go ahead,
knew.
I'm sorry.
I think they probably knew who he was, but yet they just weren't buying into this.
Exactly. Was someone else about to, did someone else want to present a position?
I don't know, David, did you?
Yeah, hey, David. What do you think?
Well, I don't
Oh,
really
this is little David.
just
Okay.
trying to, yeah, I don't really know what to think, honestly.
I'm glad you're listening. How old are you, David? How old are you?
13?
I mean, he broke up a little bit. Did he say 13?
C.
He said yes, 13.
I couldn't hear.
I'm
for
sorry.
some
He
reason.
said yes. He actually said C, but he's 13. He's a really cute kid.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad he's listening. I think this is just this is fantastic. He's listening at that age.
Did you know about this,
but at
David,
any
in the
rate,
Bible?
It goes on to say, with the coming of dawn, they're giving this description. The angels urged Lot. Now Lot didn't want to leave, saying, "Hurry, take your wife." Now they couldn't destroy the city with Lot in it. I think this has become very clear. He says, take your wife and 2 daughters, because the sons-in-laws aren't going. Forget it. End of issue. Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. And this is a punishment. He says, when he hesitated, the men, look at what had to happen. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand, and the hands of his wife and his 2 daughters, and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to him. Because you see, Lot didn't want to go. None of them wanted to go. The scriptures point out in other places that Lot was righteous, and it vexed his soul to see what was going on, but, he was kind of committed to Sodom also. But we see here, it says, as soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Notice again, it says, but Lot said, no, my Lord. Look at this, stalling. Please, your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. So Lot pleads with them to change their plans and let him go to this nearby city. I guess he says he can't run that fast to make it to the mountains, whatever. So we see Lot constantly stalling. They allow it. And they tell him to flee. Now, look, I think the important thing here is God ultimately will judge, and just like these people laughed at Lot, and I think the same thing people did that before the flood. People always laugh at God, but look what happens. You see, they got destroyed. And let me just pick out another high point here. As you said in verse 27, I think, early the next morning, Abram got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord.
Hey, David.
He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So the deed has been done. All of those people have perished. Only Lot and his 2 daughters. His wife started, but she didn't make it because she stalled. She looked back. And, of course, the debris field evidently took her life. She was killed. Verse 29, so when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. And, of course, we see here, now I say it was the plot of the daughters to do this. Now, Debbie, you take exception. I know it's horrendous, it's terrible, it's horrific, but this is what happened, and it's not sugar-coated. And as we said, the Moabites, I think, and the Ammonites were the constant were the constant nemesis of the Israelites. They battled, they warred with them on a continual basis. So this was not a good thing that these daughters and Lot, obviously he was there, so this was a really bad thing. So that pretty much completes chapter 19. Are there any comments, questions, observations, whatever?
We are smoking them tonight.
Yeah, that was really good, Mr. Solutions. You gave a very good synopsis of that, and I've learned a lot.
Well, David, thank you. But what do you think about this? Do you think God was wrong for doing this? I mean, did God not give ample opportunity for these people, number one, to change their ways? Number two, once the decision had been made to destroy the city, they didn't choose to get out and save their lives. So do you think God was wrong? Was God callous?
Partially, yes, but then again, it's really hard to come up with a valid opinion and everything. It's like, because I know everyone has, what's it called? I don't want anyone, thinking I'm giving the wrong answer, or the wrong opinion. So I can't really make a valid opinion about that, because I'm still kind of hesitant on Genesis and everything, but I understood the last couple chapters. I was trying to follow along, but old Reuter called me on Skype and everything, and I had trouble really following, but I was trying to listen on top of taking care of old Reuter calling me.
Let me, and I appreciate that, David, but this question goes to both you and Debbie, just to give a little bit more of a human picture of this. Could this have been avoided? I mean, the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, could it have been avoided? And if so, how do you think it could have been avoided? I think we all believe it happened, but could it have been avoided, and how so?
Good question.
No, it couldn't have been avoided. Those people were horrible. They were horrendous people. I wish today he would still destroy some people. I wish he would come back today and pull another Sodom on some people.
Amen.
I mean, exactly, Victor said.
And you're right, but see, this is a foreshadowing of what can happen. Let me just tell you this. I read or I listen to the History Channel quite a bit. I enjoy that, and the Science Channel. And all the people, the scientists, they are predicting that some kind of object is going to strike the Earth, either a comet, an asteroid, or something else, but usually something from outer space. Planets like Jupiter, they absorb space debris so that it doesn't hit the Earth and impact the Earth and disrupt life on the Earth. But, regarding this, I think it could have been avoided because these people were doing something. God gave them an opportunity to change. But did they, say, for example, Lot's sons? He went to them and told them, you've got to get out of the city. And they thought he was a fool. They thought he was joking. They didn't take him seriously at all.
Exactly.
And so I think
he did what he had to do, and he actually acted upon it then.
Right, and I think the real point, I think, this has already happened. So this has happened, for lessons to us, that we can see this, and number one, avoid as much sin as we can, avoid being around bad people, identify bad people, and of course what these people were doing, it was called sin, and be sensitive to God, because I think that we can preserve our lives and our health and our wealth by practicing the right thing. I think that's very important.
Yes, it is.
So,
that's why
they say.
That's why they say our bodies are a temple. When God says our bodies are a temple, and we have to treat it like a temple and be healthy and everything.
Yes, exactly. That's definitely true. And I think we see some great human sagas. We see some great human events. It's just, will anything move us? Will anything move us to a better position? Because, like I say, this information is presented to better us.
But I want to go out on a limb here. I want to go out on a limb here, Mr. Solution, and ask everybody listening, have you ever known anybody that has not lived the best life that even you have witnessed in your and you've seen something happen to them that seemed almost like punishment coming from some divine source? For example, I knew of a woman that fiercely, viciously broke up a home. She was what you call a home wrecker. She really was a home wrecker. She took these children and the husband out and just wined them, dined them, and convinced him that she was trash, and left this poor woman shattered, and to this day she cannot bear a child, and she has had miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. Now, it's not for me to judge, but I often, as a human, still scratch my head and wonder. I wonder if that's not something raining down on her as judgment. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, I've seen...
Yes, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? And I'll admit it, I don't care, but I saw my own mother suffer and die a very early death, and it always made me wonder about it, because my mother was very brutal to me, and not only did she see the death of her youngest son, which was hard enough, but then she died just 5 years later. She mourned herself to death, and she suffered 13 heart attacks, starting at the age of 31.
Wow. I've never heard of someone having that many heart attacks.
And it used to make me wonder, I don't know. I mean, do you believe, Mr. Solution, that God still punishes even in this day and age? That he takes his hand and will slightly... I do. I mean, what does everybody think? God just quit after the Bible? He just quit appearing to people? He just quit speaking to people? He quit punishing? No. Everything is still going on, but people want to attribute it to something else, like bad luck or karma. They call it karma. They love saying all these new age words. Bullshit. I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, let me say it this way, Debbie. I think just like God built certain things into the genetic code, adaptation abilities, and obviously the miraculous working of our DNA and this sort of thing, I think God has created calamity for particularly repeated and unheeded violation of God's standards. Now, what mainly are we talking about? Just like you talked about the woman who was a home wrecker. That's wrong. That's hurting men, another woman, and the children, whatever children are in that family. So I think you definitely make an excellent point that we should be careful what we do. And if we don't, then, of course, there could be, consequences, appropriate or what we call commensurate consequences. And I believe God still punishes. I believe it's more so now. It's built into the inappropriate behavior that befalls people who constantly violates God's word. So yes, I believe God definitely punishes, definitely.
I know I punish in my chat room.
And let me say this. I think it's important to alert people because, see, the point is some people will avoid doing the wrong thing to save themselves and save the people that they would do the harm to. So that's like a twofer, and that's a good thing. And that's why it's so important to raise people's conscience, their awareness. And maybe if someone had raised this woman's consciousness of what she was doing wrong, that's what a good friend is always for, is to point out to another person that you're doing the wrong thing. You're doing something that's stupid, that's inappropriate, that is harmful. You need to stop doing that.
Right, that shows a true friend.
Did you hear about the lady with the 0.34 blood alcohol level? They
Whoa.
said she was, she should have been dead. And so the various companies tried to get her to be a spokesman, and she said, no, I'm not going to support my bad behavior. I was spared. Now, 0.34, what is that, like 4 or 5 times the legal limit or more?
Yeah, I would say so. And it sounds like I'm surprised this woman could even drive at that.
Or even walk, David. She was approaching.
That too.
She was approaching being a pickle.
Yeah, I'm surprised she didn't have alcohol poisoning and die.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we can. Did you hear about that, Debbie? The lady she went out on the football field and they tested her and she had like a 0.34 blood alcohol level.
No, I didn't. I took a better something.
Well,
no, I didn't. I haven't heard of that.
The news media was. Well, see, she could have died, but at least she learned. She said she's not going to do that anymore.
Right.
So I think it's good when we improve our behavior, and that's what the Bible is all about. It's about giving these examples, showing these mistakes that other people made, and how we might avoid it. So I think it's a great asset.
Yes,
but
it is.
In any event, we are at chapter 20, so if you want to delve into it, we can certainly do so.
Debbie, it sounds like you're eating Whataburger.
No, I'm eating leftovers from what I cooked for dinner.
Oh, what's that?
Well, Debbie is eating and didn't offer anyone any.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so rude, Debbie.
What did you make? Spaghetti and sauce?
No, I made Mexican food.
Ooh, Olay.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Let me get enchiladas.
No, I cooked black beans, and I served it sort of like a buffet where you could make your own things, and some people made burritos, and some people made tacos, and some people made, just a bunch of stuff. We had some people over here watching football, so.
Oh,
all right.
On your 60-inch flat screen 3D TV?
Absolutely. You know it.
They have parents now in 3D now. If that's the case, I'm going to go out and pick up a 3D TV, like no joke.
All right, now we're going to hear about Abraham and Abimelech. I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
What chapter? We're on 20,
20, uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Abraham and Abimelech.